Hello, I'm Reggie Young. I'm here with Mina. Mina, if you could take a quick second to explain a little bit about who you are and how you got started.
Thanks for having me, Reggie. Very excited. So my name is Mina Elias. Quick background: I was born in Egypt. I was raised in Dubai. When I was 18, I came to America. Got my bachelor's and master's in chemical engineering and chemistry. Got into corporate, worked up the corporate ladder. I worked at Medtronic Medical Devices for a while. $30 billion company. And then after jumping from a few jobs, like one job to the next, realized that I absolutely hated corporate. And it was pretty much modern day slavery. I had like 80K in student loans, and I felt like, I was stuck. Like I couldn't do anything that I wanted to, and I finally realized like maybe engineering is not like the thing for me. Like I was really good at it. I was amazing. I graduated top of my class, all this stuff. And when I worked up the corporate ladder, I worked up pretty fast. But in 2018, I decided to start a supplement brand. I've been into like lifting since I was like 12 years old. I started lifting at the gym at 14. Been taking supplements, behind my parents' back since I was 15. I've been an MMA fighter since 2013. So I fought multiple times. I still train and compete. And so, I'm very, very into supplements, and supplements is a huge passion for me. I was doing keto, and I'm like, you know what? I could like I hate so I was doing keto, and I was sweating like crazy at the gym, and I was losing all of my electrolytes. And I talked to people who are on keto and stuff. They're like, you got to get your sodium back in. So I would literally drink chicken broth, like 2 cups of chicken broth every night after the gym. And then I started dry scooping chicken broth because it was just easier to like get the 1,000 milligrams of sodium in a dry scoop. So I'm like, there must be a better way. I looked at all the electrolytes on Amazon. Nothing was like really that good. So I ended up, creating an electrolyte supplement. I tried to sell it in stores and gyms. I was like rejected like crazy. Because I mean, like you're just a random guy with a bag of like electrolytes, right? It was very sketchy. But I got it on Amazon, and I'm like, you know what? I buy all of my supplements on Amazon. 100% I can sell this stuff on Amazon. And like I would buy it if I was on Amazon. And then I got it on Amazon. I priced it low. I started like spending crazy money on PPC. I didn't know what I was doing, and started asking people for reviews. And fast forward, like I think 6 months in, I was making 4K a month in profit. And I got fired from my job. Went all in, packed my shit, moved to Egypt for 4 months to save money on bills because it was too expensive to live off of the business and live in America. And then by the end of 2019, so about a year later, it was doing 10K a month in profits. I moved to LA, and then like a couple months later, I was doing 94,000 a month in revenue, and the rest is history. Like just kept scaling that brand. It's called MMA Nutrition. It's an electrolyte brand. Still own it. It gives me about 20-ish K a month in profits that I take home. And but then yeah, I mean, then fast forward 2021, I started a PPC agency because of the very high demand and me helping other people with ads. And we scaled from 3 employees. We're now close to 60. Have 108 brands under management, and just growing rapidly, man.
Excellent story. So much I want to talk about there. The first one I want to talk about is I didn't know you're still kind of active in the MMA or the MMA space.
Yeah.
Uh, so a little bit about me. I boxed in college, just like intramural, and this is the first time I really got. I never really like fought people on the streets or anything like that, and I went 7-0 in the boxing ring. And the next person I was gonna fight just kept kicking my ass. Like the moment I stepped into the ring, the first like 20 seconds, I have a bloody nose. No matter what I did, it's like I tried to plan it all out. And for me, it was like, you always have a plan until you get hit in the face. And I feel
Yeah.
like the exact same as can be said with Amazon. We identify the product opportunity, we go through all these different things, pour our heart and soul into it, and you just get literally hit in the face with it. And you got to like change the whole like movement around. So I really loved how you have like that resiliency to kind of push through it all. Additionally, what really gets me thinking, you talked about corporate and how you don't like the corporate type of vibe and how that's kind of being run. One thing I noticed when I saw you at the Sell and Scale Summit, when we were talking earlier before this, is like the merch that you had for your team. Before we hopped on a call, you're talking about what you're going to go do with your team after this. What are some things that you're doing now you know, having started from 0 employees to where you're at now, what are the things that you're doing to influence like company cultures to not make it corporate? Because I find like, we could be outside of the corporate structures doing Amazon, working with agencies, but people still kind of have this corporate vibe. What are you doing to kind of break down those barriers?
Yeah. So everyone I bring onto the company, I actually tell them this. I say like, I'm making you like a vow or a promise that I'm gonna make this the best job you ever had in your life. And so I took everything that I hated from corporate, and I made sure that in this company we were better than everyone else. And so like we don't track time. You can work whenever you want as long as you're getting shit done. I don't care when you work. You can take a lot of time off. The baseline, you start at 4 weeks of vacation, paid vacation a year, and you have to take 4 weeks. You can't take anything less. Because it forces people to realize like you're not just like like you're not enslaved. You actually like you enjoy doing this. And then one thing that I've started doing recently that has helped a ton is NPS, Net Promoter Score.
Yeah.
It's basically like you send a quick survey and say how likely are you to recommend us 1 to 10. So we started sending this like 1 minute survey every single week to all of our team members, and it says how happy are you in your job, and it's like a thumbs down, like this, like, or like, I don't know, it's either emojis like a heart face or like a sad face, and then how are you doing in your personal life? And then they have to answer these two questions, and then optional, they can leave a note. And so now we're able to stay right on top of it. So people will come and say, I don't feel like, I'm progressing. I feel like I've been working here for 6 months and I don't have a chance of getting a raise or whatever. So I'm like, hey, we need to jump on this person, figure out what they want. And at the end of the day, like, this is the work for me, the way that I look at it, like employee, employer, it's like a relationship, as if you're dating someone. And, you want to give them the best, that you want to make them feel the best, and they want to make you feel the best. And when you have like that kind of perspective, then there's like no way to lose, because you're like, hey, I want this and this from you. And they're like, okay, cool. And in exchange, I want this and this from you. And as long as you understand what they want, which is, for me, I'm like, everyone's motivated differently. Some people in the company, they love status and recognition. Other people love money. Other people love growth. Other people love a lot of time off. Other people love flexibility. So we try and identify what everyone is motivated by. And for me, like when I was younger, I was 100% motivated by more money and the ability to get paid per performance, and I never got that. And then now that I'm, in this stage, I'm like, I prefer freedom over anything else, like not being tied down to a location, not being tied down to like hours and time or whatever. And so it just depends. What is the person really motivated by? We try to align like their position and what they're doing with what they're motivated by. And then it's just having a like that constant, how can I make this a better job for you? How can I make this a better job for you? It's surprising how many employers don't ask their team, like, how can I make this better for you? For
Yeah.
me, I ask everyone in my life. I ask, my fiance, I ask my family, I ask my friends, I ask like my colleagues, I ask my team. I'm like, how can I be better? How can I be better for you? And it's simple, because when you ask it, they tell you, and then you do it, and then it's done. And you got, you're there already.
Yeah. I love it. And it's just like, even from like a technology perspective, it's all about asking the right question. You think about ChatGPT 3, asking the question at the end of the day is the most important thing. And from myself too, my experience as a nuclear missiles officer, 13 years in the military, people always say, yeah, we have this open door policy. I'm always available, right? But any kind of structure over time will create rigidity and people won't communicate at different levels. I remember one time I was underground with my commander, literally manning like 50 nuclear missiles. And we're talking, and I'm talking about like, yeah, I want to make money on Amazon. This is how I'm sourcing my product from China. And he's like, wow, that's really interesting. And he's like, this is how I structure the command. He's talking about what he does for the command structure. And we like mind mapping all this stuff out. And he goes, and I say, hey, if you just draw a line from here to here, you'll fix all the issues you're looking for. And he said to me, oh, that sounds great. Now go ahead and implement that. And I was like, I'm busy enough as it is. I got to go home and then like get the Starbucks and like start product research, But then I came up with this idea. It's just literally a survey, like NPS survey. And I'm borrowing from other people, but a start, stop, continue, optional. Every single week they get an email and it says, what do we start doing? What should I stop doing? And what should we continue doing? and it's optional. So they don't have to do it. And it can also be anonymous. And so we did that and we made it so that everyone has the option to do that. And then whoever it's sent to it gets sent straight to the top. And the amount of like significant change we made in like the 2 months that it was implemented was absolutely huge. And I put it in my business to this day. And to this day, I get like either like marketing advice because I'm not seeing things that I should be seeing. Or people saying, "Hey, sir, like you actually speak way too fast in these Loom videos. Can you slow down?" Like random things like that where they probably normally wouldn't have. Um, and then either attaching their name or not. So I really loved that NPS story and how you're asking questions in your life because it's only by asking we get that feedback. Great.
Yeah, man, I love that. Start, stop, continue. I'm gonna start using that because actually that's pretty smart.
Oh yeah, see, yeah, well, I got it from somebody else, so we're just sharing ideas here.
Perfect. I'll take it from you, man.
Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, obviously big success here on e-commerce, right? I feel I've been doing Amazon e-commerce since 2015, 2016. So I've seen a lot of influencers kind of come and go, but I haven't seen many people get into this space, make such a big impact, and literally be everywhere. Like you can't be in the Amazon space and not have heard about you already. I guarantee, anyone listening to this has already heard about you already. But what I want to leave people with is the story or like the ability to take what's working and scale beyond Amazon, scale beyond products. Because you did that, still making 20K a month profit, really healthy numbers. But now I would imagine your agency is making a hell of a lot more. There's
Yeah, a lot more.
much more fun, right? So like, could you give some advice to people who are maybe trying to find their groove or what they want to work on?
Yeah, I read this in I think the book Good to Great. I'm not exactly sure, but something like along the lines of like you need to find three things: something that you're passionate about, something that you can be the best in the world at, and then something that you can add value and then show like a demonstrated value because that will result in you getting paid. Or something that you can monetize in other words. And so for me, when I first started MMA nutrition, I said I'm gonna get into the business. And then someone gave me this advice. He said, never be married to a business. And I see way too many people. It's like a sinking ship, and they're hanging on, and they don't have like the lack of emotions to just cut it off. So I always said, you know what? If anything happened, like I'll cut off this business. I'll move on because I can't be married to a business. I can't be. It's just a business. It's not emotional. And then when the agency thing started, it actually started as I was hired by this aggregator, and they said we want you to train our in-house team, but we want to test you first, so manage one of our brands. So I managed one brand. 4 months later, they said you beat out 6 other agencies that we hired. And I'm like, you know what, man? Like, I always have been jealous of all of these like influencers that will create a supplement brand. And because they have 1 million followers on Instagram, like boom, all of a sudden they have a 7-figure brand. They barely need to do anything. It runs out of stock every week. It doesn't matter, right? They're still like ranking very high. And I was always like, man, I wish I could do that. And then I realized I'm like, I have a really big, personal brand. It's just not for like the supplement space. It's for the Amazon space. And I'm really, really good, potentially the best in the world at this, Amazon ads. And I do enjoy it. Like I enjoy doing it. I'm an engineer. I love like looking at spreadsheets and patterns and trends. I love problem solving, and I love the like when you're in a brand, you kind of are very like working on your own with a small little team. When you're an agency, a lot of your work is business development and partnerships and going to dinners and events and all this stuff. So it's fun. So it seemed to be very aligned with what I wanted to do. I seem to have the ability to be the best in the world at it. And I can very easily, I gave a lot of value to this aggregator. I've consulted so many people and given them values. I had a course already that shows people how to do PPC. I was like I was hired by a friend, which I did it for free. But she's like, after trying 4 different agencies, I scaled her brand like very successfully. And so she's like, you're amazing. And I'm like, I have a very clear demonstrated value. So all of these things came together, and then I was sitting with the founder of Getida. I don't know if you know Getida, Yoni. And I was telling him, I was like, man, he used to have a $20 million Amazon brand, and then he went into Getira, and I'm like, man, like how, like what happened? And he's like, one day like we hit a 4, and it was like you can't do both. You can't reasonably do both. You can't do the brand and you can't do Gatira and do them both, reasonably. And I had to make a decision, and I looked at where this was headed and the potential. And I looked at where this was headed and the potential, and that was like a brand, whatever. And that one like had the potential to be something amazing. And so he went in that direction. And then I sat down and I was so resistant. I'm like, man, like I built MMA nutrition, like uh, I know I can have a great supplement brand and all this stuff, but I'm like, look at how Trivium, my agency, is going. Literally, it's like a hot knife through butter. Clients are coming to me, wanting to work with me because of the great work that we do. We're delivering great results. People are enjoying it. I'm having all these great conversations with other agency owners, all of this stuff. And then with MMA nutrition, every day was a war, man. Every day, like this gets taken down. Then you need to do this, and then and that. And I'm like, maybe I need to like remember what I learned in the beginning, which was like, don't be married to a business. So that was when I'm like, you know what? Let this thing run. I'm gonna go all in on this thing because I know I can be the best in the world at it. And we're on track to be the best in the world.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just dominating the absolute market here on Amazon PPC. Anyone who's in the space right now knows about Trivium and what you guys are doing. Do you guys do any type of like Google ads, or is it only Amazon?
Just Amazon. I'd rather just be the best in the world at one thing, which is Amazon, and then for other people who need like Google and stuff like that, we'll usually just send it to partners who are like the best at what they do.
Yeah. And, I feel like anyone starting a business or a brand, the first thing they do once we have our social media pages up, everyone just jumps straight to paid advertising, right? So if you could speak to the person who's never spent a dollar on advertising, just spent 5 grand on their inventory, they spent the first few months, they're really nervous. What kind of fundamental advice would you give to someone who doesn't know what they're doing to kind of allow them to understand maybe some fundamental principles of how they should take action?
Yeah. Regarding Amazon PPC, right? The way that it works on Amazon is, think of things as a funnel. People are, you're going to launch campaigns, and I'll break it down a little bit more. But you're going to launch campaigns. A certain number of people are going to see you. That's your impressions. Out of those impressions, a certain number are going to convert into clicks or sessions. That's going to be your click-through rate. And then out of those, clicks or sessions, a certain number is going to convert into sales. That's your conversion rate. So those are the things that those are the main KPIs, is how many impressions are you getting? Is it growing over time? Out of those impressions, how many are converting into sessions, and what's the cost of that session? So are you spending $1,000 to get 1,000 sessions, or are you spending $1,000 to get 100 sessions? You know what I mean? And then out of that, like, what's the conversion rate, and how can you increase the conversion rate so that you can get more sales? And as long as you're monitoring those KPIs, that's kind of like the main things you should keep an eye out on. Now with advertising, the way that I like, the analogy I like to give is like you're going fishing, and basically the keywords, those different keywords are like bait. So someone types in a keyword electrolyte powder, a search result shows up, they see your product, they click on it. And so if you're going fishing and you're like, I have no idea what's going to work, like there's a bunch of fish in the water, I have some theories. And so you have this like 10 different baits. So you throw the 10 different baits in the water, and that's like launching 10 different keywords, for example, not campaigns, keywords. It's all down to the keywords. And then some of them work, like, 3 of them work and seven of them don't work. So you pull out the ones that didn't work, you keep the ones that worked, and then you take those 7 baits and you put 7 new baits. Let's say 3 more work, and now you have 6 things that are working, and 4 that are not working. You pull out the 4 that are not working. And so that's essentially the exact same as Amazon advertising, where you do some keyword research, you identify what are the keywords that you think potentially are going to work. You launch them on Amazon in terms of campaigns. A good campaign structure is one campaign, single ad group. The reason I don't do multiple ad groups, which on Facebook and Google, it's amazing to do multiple ad groups, but because you can't control the budget on Amazon per ad group, you want to do a single ad group. If you do multiple ones, the budget starts spreading. So single campaign, single ad group, up to 5 keywords. Beyond 5 keywords, I start seeing that the ones at the bottom, like with the like smaller number of impressions, they just don't get enough traction because they're being like, the budget's being sucked by the bigger ones. So I would limit it to 5. If you have really big search volume keywords, I would limit it to 1 or 2. And then you launch those campaigns, you launch those keywords, and then you wait. I like to do at least $100 daily budget. Start with a smaller bid. Let's say like the suggested bid is $1. Start at like 75 cents, and then you can work your way up to get more and more spend. And then you give it some time. You wait until it spends, let's say, half of your product price. So let's say you have a $20 product. Wait until each keyword spends $10, and you start evaluating. Certain keywords are going to perform well, and those keywords, you keep them running, you give them more money. Other keywords are going to spend money, not generating sales. You're going to pull them out, and then you're going to launch more keywords. And that's the whole process. It's just, you have like a let's say $100 a day budget. You initially have $100 a day test budget. Now 20 of them are working well. 80 is a test budget. 50 is working well. 50 is a test budget. Up until now, 100 of those dollars are actually generating profitable sales. Then you're like, okay, it's time to spend more money. Let's go to 150 a day, and so on. And that's kind of the fundamentals of Amazon advertising, is driving traffic, to the listing. And then make sure you're tracking CTR, which is click-through rate and conversion rate, because you could be launching those campaigns. You'll notice impressions go up, but if your click-through rate is low, it's under 0.2% or whatever, then you're for those advertising efforts, you're just not getting enough people coming to the listing. So you start looking at what in the search result is resulting in people clicking on other people's listings, not mine. Is it the main image? Is it the price? Is it reviews? Is it the star rating? Is it the am I FBM and not FBA? Does everyone else have a coupon? I don't have a coupon. Like the different factors. And then once you're in the listing, it's the exact same thing for conversion rate. What are all the other things? The other images, the video, the bullet points, the questions on the listing, A+ content, reviews, all of that stuff that are resulting in people coming into the listing but not converting.
Well, I don't know if anyone's watching this. You see, I'm over here cheesing because I love when somebody understands deeply the holistic part of PPC or Amazon. Like listening to you, someone knows that they'll know that you know what you're talking at the end of the day, right? It's not just click-through rates or conversion rates, having that holistic approach. And you have such a deep understanding top to bottom. And a few things that you talked about, I want to bring up, at least I see in terms of patterns for people who have really bad PPC or just bad businesses in general, is they're not calculating their budget. All they calculate is inventory and whatever they want to do. But your paid advertising should be part of your total project before you get into it. So I think that has to be 100% clear before you even start sourcing your product. What's your paid advertising going to be? And then you can know where you're going to play that risk. Additionally, us cannibalizing our keywords. Too many times I say we don't let our keywords breathe. So I did have a question for you, right? You talk about 5 keywords per campaign, depending on search volume. When you're doing this and people are targeting, 50 or 100 keywords, do you just try and target maybe 10 keywords for the entire project, or for the entire, like we're doing some automatic campaigns, or are using software to build out, single keyword campaigns, 100 of them? What do you recommend for someone starting out, and how do they scale into software and or a service to help them with this?
Yeah. So I don't think you need software. I think you can use a macro if you want. What I did, like old school, before I even, because, obviously engineer, right? So I got to figure this out, and I'm very strong in Excel. I would just take the bulk sheet template. I would, download the bulk sheet, take you'll see like a campaign, ad group, whatever. I would take a chunk out, copy paste it, and then delete all of the fields from that are like the specific like campaign ID, the keyword, those things. And I would fill in my own stuff. So I would put, okay, this is the budget, this is the bid, this is the keyword. And then I would just put it in its own sheet and upload it to Amazon, and then it would create the campaign that way. So I had the ability to bulk create campaigns just by using an Excel template, which is easy. It takes 2 minutes for you to copy and then delete the fields and then add your own stuff. I don't think you need to rely on software. And I would really be very careful of software, because software, think about it this way. It's like a blade, and you tell the blade, I want you to cut like up to 5 foot. And then it'll see like a human head, and it won't care. It'll continue to cut because it's a computer. It just follows, no matter what they say, AI and machine learning, all of this stuff. No one's really reached that level in the PPC industry. I can tell you that for sure, based on what I'm seeing, like their stuff is doing, and what they're pitching. And when you ask them, like, what does the AI do? You won't get a convincing answer. And I mean, I have friends who like are in a PPC agency, a PPC software, and it's just, it is what it is, man. You know, like if you're gonna do like this kind of marketing, then you should expect the backlash of people who are gonna call you out. But I think what you should do if you're trying to, like, first of all, if you have 50 to 100 keywords, go into your ad group and then go to like sales and sort by sales, and then look at which ones are generating sales. Let's say 8 are generating sales, keep them, and then everything under the 8, like number 9 to number 100 or 50 or whatever, those are not doing anything. At least for the last 30 days, they didn't generate sales. So pause them all and then try and take 5 at a time, put them in a new campaign. And if you're worried about controlling budget, there's no need to launch all the campaigns at once. Launch 5 campaigns with, 2 to 5 keywords, whatever, and monitor spend. If you start with a lower bid, you're not gonna, I mean, if you start with a 0.2 dollar bid, nothing's gonna happen. You're not gonna get any impressions. You can work your way up, right, to a 50 cent, 70 cent, 90 cent bid until you start seeing traction, you start seeing spend. Basically, what's happening is you're going from page 5, right, to the middle of page 5, then bottom of page 4, top of page 4, and so on. And then obviously, if you have a really big bid, you're going to be, somewhere on top of page 1 or something like that. And that's all you're trying to do is bring more visibility to your listing, and hopefully, a certain number of people are going to see the listing, click on it, and a certain number of people that click on it are going to convert, and the money is going to make sense. Let's say for every 4 clicks, which cost you $4, whatever, you make a $20 sale. The economics work there. And just keep in mind that your PPC sales do influence your organic sales as well. So don't just look at, PPC spend, PPC sales, Ecos. Look at PPC spend and total sales. Those are the 2 true numbers that you can look at, because your total sales are actually how much you're getting at the end of the day. PPC spend is how much you're actually spending. Everything in between, that's what I call like an iterative approach. So basically, I'll increase the bids for a main keyword, and then instead of looking at the results of that main keyword, I'll look at what happened to my entire, sales holistically. So for example, electrolyte powder, that keyword, it would generate, like whatever, a large number of sales at a 90% ACOS. And I'm like, man, everyone says 90% is too high. You need a 20% ACOS. This is back when I was a noob. And so what I did was I cut down the bids. I'm like, this is spending too much money. And next thing you know, my total sales crashed. And I'm like, and the ACOS of that, keyword didn't become any better. And then I realized that keyword was driving a lot of my revenue. So I brought it back up. The sales came back up. But then I realized the hard way that your ad spend affects your total sales, including organic. And then don't always believe everything that you see in terms of the numbers. That's why you change things a little bit, you tweak them, and you step back and see. It's like a very touchy feely thing. Like, okay, the ACOS is 80%. Let's drop the bid by 10 cents and see what happens. You drop the bid by 10 cents. You notice you drop the bid by 10 cents, you notice like your ad spend is going down. What happened to your total sales? Are they remaining the same, or are they going down? So that's kind of the iterative approach. It's a lot, and it requires you to be very meticulous and not half-ass things. But the good thing with PPC is, if you're worried, what should you be doing? Every day, just monitor, make sure none of the keywords that are spending money and not generating sales continue to live on. So have like a hard break. Say you have a $30 product. If a keyword spends $15 and doesn't make sales, you're gonna lower the bids a lot if it's a exact keyword or a product target, or you're gonna add it as negatives if it's an auto broader phrase or expanded ASIN, because you can't really control the bids. It's a lot of different keywords. So that's the only thing that you should watch for, so you don't have like this spend that's going crazy. Everything else, you can take your time. If a keyword's spending money, that's fine. You don't have to launch too many campaigns at once.
Anyone who's ever looking for a PPC agency, just go and listen to their CEO talk and see the level of detail they have about PPC. It's nowhere near what you're going to hear here, right? So having that top level, deep understanding, and then communicating that all the way down into your team, absolutely amazing. I love what you talked about, scaling into your campaigns instead of just coming like balls to the walls heavy, just dropping money, and scaling into profitability. I think could be an interesting way of doing things now. And we just don't have a lot of people. It's too expensive to F around and find out, I feel like, nowadays.
Yeah.
And then with that,
And it really depends on your budget. Like if you're well-funded, like we launch well-funded brands, it's $500, $700 a day ads on day one. And then, but if you're like me and you started with, couple. I started with 500 units, a couple $1,000s in the bank. I couldn't afford to spend that kind of money. So you started the slow and you work your way up.
Yeah. And what I also like too is I think in this space, anytime it comes to using a service, sometimes we think, okay, I need this service because I'm not good at it. So I'm not good at PPC. So I need a PPC agency. That's one reason to get an agency. Well, I think there's this massive blind spot amongst successful entrepreneurs or just people in general. We think, okay, I already know this, therefore I don't need this agency. And I can't tell you the amount of people I'm helping sell their businesses now. And there's parts of their PPC campaigns that are just not on point. They think they know PPC really well, or they're more focused on product development, or they say, hey, I outsource PPC to this company. I have a good total A costs, right? So that KPI makes sense. I should be good to go. It all comes down again to asking the right question. Ask yourself the right question. Is it the right time of your business to be like, yes, can I take more market share by looking into or getting a free audit, doing these different things? I think it's absolutely critical, especially when you're going to sell your business. You want to be checking all these different areas so you can handle all that. When you go to exit your business, you're like, hey, even though PPC sucked back then, this is a great opportunity for you now. So I encourage everyone, whether it's Amazon PPC or paid advertising, to ask yourself those questions and find people that can help you. So with that, Mina, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, podcast, your knowledge, your enthusiasm. I really appreciate it. If people will want to find you or interested in reaching out, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Mina Elias, Mina space Elias, and then Instagram at the Mina Elias. Ask me questions there. I answer everyone's questions. I'm pretty accessible. And then the website is called triviumco.com, triviumco.com, and that's where you can get the free audit, which is like a 45-minute consultation, basically, of covering all of your campaigns and stuff like that. So if you kind of want to get that like information, feel free to get the audit. And final thing I want to say is Reggie's right. If something is your strength, then you know exactly the right questions to ask. And if something is your weakness, then make it your strength. Go out, find like experts on LinkedIn, whatever. Accounting was my weakness. I went out and I found an accountant on LinkedIn. I found multiple accountants. I said, I just want to pay for your time to teach me some stuff. And they spent, an hour a week with me for like 4 weeks, explaining to me like what a profit and loss statement looks like. What's this? What's that? What's a balance sheet? What's like accrual versus cash basis? All of this stuff. And then when I went, like, first my accounting was all messed up, and then when I went and hired an accountant, I knew exactly what to ask, how to test them, how to keep them accountable. And so, if you do understand PPC, then you can keep the agency or the employees accountable, and they should always be producing better results. And if it's not a strength, then go find someone to make it a strength for you, and then hire it out.
Excellent. Last really good piece of gold nugget there. Again, thank you for coming on the show. And I'll put all the links down below to what you mentioned. And yeah, appreciate it. Hope to have you back on soon.
Awesome, love it, man.
Take care.